I'm here with Ron Pearlman, and the last time we got to see you and hear from you was for your book, Easy Street. And now you're here with a brand new project for Amazon, Hand of God. The pilot is available right now, and the show should be coming out in the early fall. You're a judge who was kind of corrupt, and now you think that God has touched you, and you're now doing God's work by some vigilante justice.
Well, you skipped a couple of beats in there. I mean, the thing that brings me to God is I've just had this blow to my gut that is cataclysmic, and that's something that, for the first time in this guy's life, he doesn't have the resources to deal with, and so he is finally put in the position where he has to consider things he may never have considered before. Just so happens he gets lured into this fledgling little church by this preacher who at one point was a soap opera actor. So you can do the math and find out, how savory this thing is. But our hero is in such a vulnerable state that he buys into it, and he gets baptized in his first visit there and leaves them with a $50,000 endowment. So they're going, we got to keep this guy fucked up, because the longer he needs us, the richer we get. And so this symbiotic sort of feeding off system takes place. But meanwhile, the stuff that the judge is getting out of this newly formed relationship with God is leading him to do certain things that are kind of twisted and very highly controversial, and scare the shit out of all the people who know and love and live off of him. And pretty much everyone in town lives off of him. I mean, he is the focal point. He is the straw that stirs the drink. Pretty much every street in San Vicente is either named after his grandfather or his great-grandfather. So he's the dude.
He's very well connected and very well embedded in the city. So once your character has this moment and starts becoming a vigilante and taking things into his own hands, is he still working within the law and also outside of the law at the same time?
Oh no, he's completely gone rogue. He's living a virtual reality in his life that he's not practicing in his professional life. As a judge, he probably still operates the way he always operated. But then again, there was a lot of his own prejudices involved in him gaining the moniker Judge Maximum. I mean, he's a guy who believes, I'm getting scumbags off the street. I don't give a shit how I got to do it. And so he's earned that nickname. But the stuff he starts doing that kind of result from the voices are way outside the realm of law and order, way outside.
Does he have a weapon of choice?
A guy named KD, as played by the great actor Garrett Dillahunt. KD, coincidentally, is also being saved right at this moment. KD has been in and out of prison his whole life. He's a sociopath. He's a very dangerous dude, very violent dude, and he also is trying to let God in so that he can finally get a hold of the evil side of him that he wants to squelch. So they meet each other in this environment, and the judge asks him to use this very unique skill set of his in the name of God. So now he's got KD thinking that maybe it was destiny that God gave me this skill set. Maybe I was always meant to be his soldier and do the things that other guys would never ever consider doing, and not quite as well as I could do them. So they form this very symbiotic, very unholy, holy union, and shit happens.
What is his character like to play? I mean, you've played some very iconic characters in the past. I don't need to list, but for those, Hellboy and of course, in Pacific Rim. Where does this character fare as far as your creativity that you get to put into it?
This is the Big Kahuna. This is the valedictory. This is a compendium of everything that I've always loved to play in a character, but a whole bunch of shit that I never had the balls to even go near, because the thing that scared me the most when I read it is I would have to go to places emotionally where I was no longer in control, where I would have to just, strip myself of all control and hope and pray that I could touch those levels of sadness and depravity that that this tragedy of losing his son has touched off in him. And I've never been asked to play a guy who is as emotionally compromised and as emotionally vulnerable as the judge, and yet who in the same breath is the most powerful, charismatic guy you've ever met. So the combination of those two things is new ground for me. But the writing is such that it's done in such a classy, high-mannered way that it's worth taking the journey, because these are big issues. This is not sentimental shit. This is a man losing his heir, losing something he doesn't, all the skills in the world are never going to give him what he needs to undo this situation. And he's never been faced in a situation like this before, because he's that brilliant, he's that powerful, he's that smart. And this is the big equalizer. So Ben managed to find a way to take a man who has all this and fuck him over. What's the one thing that can do that? Like he said in the panel this morning, it's not global warming. It's not gay marriage. It's like, holy shit, I'm losing this thing. I didn't even know how precious he was to me until I'm losing him.
What you said there with going to some places that you were scared to never go as an actor, they give you the direction for this character, and they said they want you to go to some of these emotional states. When you're going to do that, how much freedom do you have as far as developing the character, not just how it's written, but for you to go into it, like, I think I can do it this way and I can get to this place here? Do they go, okay, you have, however you can get there is the way to do it? Or do they say they take you step by step through how to develop the character's emotional state in the process?
I think everybody just hopes and prays that we get to go home as early as possible. And that means, let's hope Ron has the solution to this, because I don't know what the fuck to tell him. I don't know how to tell him, he's losing his son and he feels horrible about that, and he's now having a moment where he is in the depths of sadness over that. So they leave me alone and they hope and pray that I get it and it doesn't take 48 takes for me to have the tear roll down my eye. And that's part of what the dance has been this year, is to get this thing on film, on a TV schedule, which we're you got to be moving. You shoot TV way faster than you shoot movies. But you also want it to be honest and authentic and not, some sort of manipulation. So it's been one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have been involved in it, and also to talk about it, is because it's been the biggest test I've ever had, and I wasn't sure that I was up to it. I wasn't sure I was up to it because I've never had to do anything with this broader range of emotion.
This will be interesting to see, and I'm sure it's translating well, because you've shot all the stuff and you've seen all the episodes, from characters where you usually have you're very badass, very sly and cocky, and usually have the great lines before something big happens, and to go into this state where everybody who knows Ron Perlman and the characters you portray, like, okay, he's intimidating, he's a larger-than-life kind of guy, and then to see these breakdowns here, I think it's going to show really well throughout the whole series here. Like, this is a whole other side of Ron Perlman that I've never seen before.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, one of the things people dug about Clay Morrow on Sons of Anarchy was that he had buttons that were easily pressed, especially by Gemma, that made him, you know, all that bravado completely melt and disappear. And that's what made him human, and that's why you could play a villain like that for 6 years and still have the audience kind of on your side. It didn't take place to the degree it does with Judge Harris, but I made note of the fact that people responded to that vulnerable side of Clay, particularly how devoted he was to this woman, and how she's the only one that could get him to break down. And he did, you know. And at the end, he lost everything because of her. But this one is like nonstop. This is a different kind of sorrow.
One last thing before we go here. You had referenced the panel earlier today. You said that you felt that you owed your fans, especially the ones of the Hellboy series, a proper ending to mock up a trilogy for this thing. Do you see this happening?
I don't think I would be still fighting for it unless there was a part of me that saw it happening. Don't get me wrong, I'm not encouraged. There's been nothing has happened that has encouraged me. But I know I still physically can do it, you know, even though I'm in my mid-60s. And I know that there's an amazing story out there waiting to tell. And so what's stopping us? The circumstances are the only thing that's stopping us. You know, the raising of the money and the finding time in everybody's schedule are the only thing that's stopping us. And I find those things to be rather surmountable. So as long as I still feel that way, I'm going to keep fighting for it because I think it's doable.
It's amazing, too. I mean, schedules aside, but as far as money and the interest to do it, we're in a time now where comic book superheroes have never been bigger. And, you know, everybody's greenlighting every kind of project. You would think getting the third movie done would be a no-brainer.
I mean, yeah. Those are not the things I have answers to. You know, for whatever reason, Hellboy gets made or doesn't get made, that's not up to me. All I can do is kind of be a voice for what I think is right in this situation. And I think we owe the fans a resolve to something that we asked them to invest their attention in twice. That was always meant to have a third act. We owe it to them. You know, so that's where I'm coming from. I'm not the guy that writes the check. I'm not the guy that gets, you know, 400 people to get their schedule to work right to make it happen. I'm not that guy. That's got to be, you know, somebody else has got to take over. But I'm the guy that's going to make some noise and go.
And rally for it.
You know, this is, hey, I'm down. I'm not thrilled with the idea of putting 5 hours worth of makeup on every day. But, you know, I'm down to give the fans this finale.
And speaking of finales, we are at the end of this interview here, but you are at San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know if you had a chance to walk the floor or see all the merchants and the exhibits and whatnot, but if you have, great. But what is your favorite piece of merchandise involving you? Is it from Hellboy? Is it from Pacific Rim? Is it some of the Sons of Anarchy stuff?
People have created amazing sculptures about characters that I played. The most recent one was somebody did a Clay Morrow from Sons of Anarchy and gave it to me at a Comic-Con I was at a few weeks ago. And it was magnificent. I mean, you know, hundreds of hours of work went into this. And that's kind of like trippy to know that somebody was that touched by something that you had something to do with, where they were willing to make that kind of an investment. But I've seen a lot of stuff. Probably Hellboy and Sons were the things that inspired people to do those things the most. Let's hope they'll be making Judge Pernell Harris dolls.
Let's hope you're getting a cut of it.
Yeah, well, I already got enough riches to, you know, I'm good, man. You know, there's a line in one of the episodes. Erykah Badu says to me, "How are you this morning?" And I say, "I'm better than I deserve," and that could have been written by me.
Well, there you have it. Ron Perlman, thank you so much. The show, Hand of God, Amazon, instant video. If you have the Prime, great, but if you don't have the Prime, you can still go and you can still download it, still stream it. Enjoy the show. The pilot is out right now, and the show comes out in the early fall. Thank you so much, Ron.
Pleasure.